And 3, 2, 1.
Yippee-Ki-Yay, motherfucker.
Welcome to the party, pal!
No.
I don't even know what you're pointing at, your words. See if you just drive straight along up there,
Yes.
right, and see the traffic lights up there, take that right, then you'll go past Ibrox Stadium, right, and go straight through a roundabout, then take a left, so it's right, then it's there, it's the motorway's there, it's a big Asda, you'll see it, a big Asda sign.
Okay.
Welcome to another edition of Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast. What is going on, Mother Podcaster?
Ralphie!
Well, we're talking about the show the original.
Yeah.
I guess these new glasses that I'm going to start
Well,
wearing.
no, I thought you had conjunctivitis, but no.
No, these are legit.
No,
This
he
is
takes
my
marijuana
new
for that.
podcast. Look, I think we're going to gain more viewers if I start looking better, so I thought this would
No,
help.
I agree.
I think
You're not
I'm
gonna
still going to knock us down.
you're not gonna dislocate your jaw and eat a rat, are you?
I don't know. Can I do
Okay.
that with these?
Well, you can.
No, one of my favorite podcasters I watch, he wears these, and I'm copying this guy. That's what I'm doing. All
Do you
right,
hit the
so
like button? Do you hit the like button on his podcast?
I do.
How
very
about
much.
the notifications?
All of them. I did. I might even subscribe and pay.
Nice.
So, all right. So tonight we're going to do. It was my spin, and I think, and I spun, and
The
I picked.
Sinatra movie.
I picked 2013's Under the Skin, starring Scarlett Johansson, the Jonathan Glazer film. I don't know where it is in his filmography. Maybe second or third.
It's our third one.
It is.
Not
So we're going to
counting
do that.
commercials
We'll do
and
that.
music
But
videos.
we're going to change it up a little bit. Chris and Sean, we're going to have the next two spins, but Sean had a brilliant idea.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thank
this
you.
it's a brilliant idea. And this is to pander to our Indian audience who watches our other show called Indian Cinemaniacs. And what we did, because we want constant engagement, and those guys really engage with everything we do. We would love our American audience, if we have one, that watches this show to do that, but they don't. So now we're going to
Kelly
pander.
does. Kelly writes
Kelly
something
is
every-
Kelly. Once in a while does, and we have some faves.
We have about 70 loyal fans that watch every week.
So, these are still going to be great. So what we did is we let our Indian audience, we put out a community poll, and let them pick a bunch of films, and each one of us picked two films that we whittled down to one each that we're going to do for the next 5 episodes of this show. We're still going to keep the same routine, which is 2 Yippee-Ki-Yays and an Indian Cinemaniacs. So we're still going to do our Indian Cinemaniac show. But these 5 films, and we'll give them away. We'll show them when we do the wheel.
Yeah, you got to stay
at the
around
end.
to the end for the wheel. See what choices were.
And this is we are definitely pandering to the Indian audience, and I hope they reciprocate
It's
with
not
some views. And
pandering.
it is
No,
a
we're
little,
trying
but
to
that's
expand.
okay.
We're trying to expand our audience
Okay, call it what you want.
for both
We've
shows.
been what I really wanted about this was I wanted, we're seeing what they love about their cinema and their country. And what I was curious about is what American films that would they want us to view, because I'm thinking it would tell us what Indian people think of the United States.
Well, it wasn't just, and to be fair, it's not just American films; it's Western films,
Yeah.
especially.
Well,
And-
Non-Indian
one I
film.
have is sort of
yeah,
Asian.
and frankly, all great picks.
Right.
Yeah.
All great picks. So I'm really happy with the picks
Yeah.
that we're going to be doing. So
And someone did try to sneak an Indian film in their list too. I don't know
they
if you
did.
noticed that.
I didn't
Oh, yeah.
catch that.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So
That's
very
funny.
clever.
Yeah, clever. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll still do a little what you watch. We'll try to keep that as short as we can. I say that every time. It doesn't matter. I say it anyway. It's part of the shtick. Same as subscribe and hit the button. We'll just say that. So tonight is my film, and it's Under the Skin.
Ralph, before you get to
Yes.
can I just say something real quick? We
Yes.
had a couple of significant deaths. Lou Gossett Jr.,
Yes.
Joe Flaherty from SCTV. You guys,
yep.
the audience might know him from Happy Gilmore, Jackass,
And
and
from Freaks and
Barbara
Geeks.
Rush.
Freaks and Geeks. And if you're a baseball fan, a Baltimore fan, a San Diego fan, and a Red Sox fan, Larry Lucchino died, who was one of the main reasons why Camden Yards was built, why Petco was built, and why the Red Sox won the World Series. He 78 years old. He just passed from cancer. So just
There's one more. One of my
Barbara
favorite
Rush.
faces of the movies. M. Emmett Walsh died.
oh,
Oh
he
my
did?
God!
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's,
He may well be 170. 'Cause he was one of
Wow.
those people that looked old when I first noticed him.
Yeah.
But I was
Slap
always a
shot.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
Slapshot and
Yeah.
lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Also, let's say Barbara Rush, a beautiful woman.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was in her mid-90s.
Yeah, she was.
Oh,
Well, she
right.
was 97 years old, and of
Wow,
course,
wow.
she was in a ton of movies.
Yeah.
Most memorably, It Came from Outer Space with Richard Carlson.
Robin
and
and
I
the
had that
Seven
movie
Hoods.
on Super 8 in 3D with
Nice.
4 pairs of glasses. So I'll always remember her.
And Emmett Walsh was also in Blood Simple, right?
Yeah.
In the early Coen Brothers movie.
The
And
first
some other 27-year-old kid just get killed on a
Oh,
motorcycle.
yeah, I just saw
too, an
that.
actor as well.
Yeah,
Kid
that was
from-
sad.
Tough week.
was in V.
Was that who that was?
Yeah, he was in that spin-off show from The Boys.
Oh, he
called
was in Gen V, yeah.
Gen V. That's what.
And what happened? Do we know what happened?
A
Motorcycle
accident.
accident.
Oh God.
So
Wow.
He was
And I wanna say
27,
one
'cause
thing
that's
about-
when you die.
Yeah.
Emmett
awful.
Walsh apparently didn't have a lot of confidence in Blood Simple and made him pay with cash a week.
Well, that paid off for everybody on that one. All right, so this movie has a lot of death in it. It's called Under the Skin. 2013, like I said, Jonathan Glazer, starring Scarlett Johansson. And I'm
spoiling it?
I'm just going to read it because it's easier for me just to. A mysterious young woman seduces lonely men in the evening hours in Scotland. However, events lead to her to begin a process of self-discovery. So if you haven't seen the film, we're going to spoil it, even though it came out a long time ago.
Yeah, she gets nude.
She does get a little bit nude. I mean, everyone is making a big deal out of her nudity. It's not that big a deal, and it's quite tasteful. There's more nude men in this than there is of her, which is interested to hear John's take on that. So anyway, it's a film about an alien that comes down, and she basically hunts men and processes men for meat, it looks like. But it's the way she processes, and it's her coming kind of, I mean, it's her realization about the human race that really is what the film is about. And
Is it?
from what I can see, well, that's my take on it. We'll talk about it, talk about some of the scenes that happened in there. And it's another one of his. I mean, I saw Zone of Interest and was blown away by his audio work in that. And this one has just as impressive work in this. It starts off practically the same with a screeching kind of soundtrack, and then it leads into what looks like an eye being formed, and I think it's, we're supposed to take it that she is ready for her trip to Earth. The first scene opens with some guy on a motor. There's a guy that drives around on a motorcycle. Turns out maybe her alien boss or something. We don't really get an answer on that, except it's pretty obvious that that's what's happening. Who crawls out of the woods with a woman, and the movie starts with Scarlett Johansson's character pulling all that woman's clothes off, and it looks like taking her identity. And I thought that was Scarlett Johansson on the floor of that, but when you look at the credits, that's a different person. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was confused initially.
Yeah,
the first time I saw
That's the first scene that they show that humans are less than, because you think that girl is dead, but then when Scarlett Johansson is finishing up, the tears come out of her eyes. So she's not dead, she's paralyzed, but who cares, because she's just a human.
She's meat, right? But
Yeah.
some theories I've read and watched are that's another alien that came before Scarlett Johansson's alien, and ran into the same issue that Scarlett Johansson's character ended up having, which is she became empathetic, and once that happens, they're useless to the boss who's driving around on the motorcycle. Basically, what she does is she goes around Scotland and picks up men at night, asks them a series of questions to see if they have a girlfriend, are they alone, do they have a family, and she essentially seduces them to get in the, flirts with them so they get in the truck with her, and then she takes them to a processing plant through whatever's going on. She
whatever's going on.
hypnotizes them. I don't quite get how it works, and they end up being processed as meat, it looks like. The interesting thing is when they shot this, they drove around Scotland and they actually picked up non-actors. She was actually flirting with non-actors just to get.
It
And the
seemed
interesting
like she had
thing,
a difficult time getting guys being Scarlett Johansson and everything.
it's interesting. The language is so fascinating that they
I
picked
did
to
it with the
shoot in
subtitles.
Scotland because you can't understand a word those men are saying.
Did
Did
everyone
everyone
watch-
put
did
on the
everyone watch-
subtitles?
Yeah, I did.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Absolutely.
First time I didn't when I saw it, but the second time, yeah.
So so she does that, and it's as the film goes on, I mean, my take is that I think she starts realizing that humans aren't. I mean, she's a hunter basically. She's coming down and hunting men, and now she's becoming empathetic to the people that she's hunting. There's one particular scene where she picks up a guy with a facial deformity that
Like
she
the
actually
Elephant Man.
actually lets go, and that starts her journey on becoming a human. She tries food. She tries having sex with a guy, and ultimately we can talk about the end. What do you guys? Anybody want to jump in? What do you guys think about this film as a choice?
May I jump in?
Of course you may.
It got under my skin.
You just couldn't wait.
I just wanted to say that.
Did you
first.
write that? Did you spend
He's
time
been sitting
writing
on that for 24 hours.
Yeah, I'm sitting there. I had a lot of things I could have said. I have a whole notepad.
Yeah,
and that's the one. You know,
I mean, before
that's
you go,
the
Sean,
one I went with.
There's a couple of specific scenes I want to talk about and get you guys' reactions on those and see how you felt what was going on, because there's a lot of interpretations.
Well,
with this film.
let me just give
Go
my
ahead, go ahead.
general thoughts.
Yeah.
I saw this film when it originally came out, and I liked it a lot more the first time when I saw it than when I saw it this time. Because the first time, you know, apparently the book, which I have not read, but I've read reviews of the book as well, they explain a lot more. And it looks like, even if you read movie reviews, it looks like a lot of people are getting information from the book and incorporating it into the movie review, because it certainly wasn't explained in the movie. But, you know, the first time I found it kind of mesmerizing. I thought this, you know, the score was pretty cool. And the sound and the score are indeed very important on this film. Yeah. And I just, you know, I went along with the mystery of it a lot. And these are just, I know you want to ask some questions. I'm just going to be deliberately vague about it. And, but the second time, I just felt like the director was toying with us with his coyness about not only exactly what exactly is happening, but also what is the film about? Why did he make this film? What is it about? What's the theme? Why are we watching this? Now, this is stuff that didn't bother me the first time because I was in the flow of it. But watching it a second time, I don't know. I guess I expected something more. But that's just my initial thoughts. And we can talk about specific scenes and all later.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to kind of get at it. But yeah. John, what did you... I'm dying to hear this.
I didn't like this film.
Oh,
What?
God, I can't believe it.
Whoa.
It was stupid. It was
Jesus.
if a student made an experimental a 20-minute experimental film like this, I'd go, yeah, that was pretty interesting. The only thing I found interesting about it was when I researched and Ralph, if you got to research to figure out what's going on, that tells you something about the movie. But the filmmaking
2001.
process, the filmmaking process that I read about was really interesting. With all the cameras in the vans, I found that kind of interesting. His visually, I mean, listen, you know, I didn't like the last movie either, but visually, you can't argue the director's got an eye. But it was almost like instead of any kind of cohesive plot or any kind of explanation, you talk about there's no backstory, there's nothing. And you're supposed to figure out stuff as it goes along. And even then, you don't really figure it out. You talk that they're being used for meat. I don't know how you got that. From nothing I saw says that
It wasn't from the book. Did you see that long trail of meat that was going out when their bodies get sucked
Was
out of their
that
skin?
long trail of meat? I didn't understand what that was.
It was
actually.
like I thought
Why
it was
did they
a
leave the
transportation
skin?
device to wherever their planet is. That's what I thought. But
I thought it was like Phantasm.
Anyway, and Scarlett Johansson was good. Yeah, she was naked in it for a little bit. Nice, okay. But the movie was just like, as it was going on, I'm going, what is the point of this? What is the point of this film? What is it saying? What are they aliens? And at the end, when she peels off her, all her skin, okay, she's an alien. But even that, the way she went, it was just like, all
right, Chris.
Chris,
what is the point of this film?
Wait a minute, I want to get red eyes here because I was angry watching this film.
So for me, I had not seen this film all the way through, and I really enjoyed it. Mostly because I am a huge fan of David Lynch, and I got a very Lynchian vibe from this.
That's a good call.
Even from the point of just like the sound design. I think people don't talk about Lynch's sound design enough and how it does a great job of just unsettling you. And I found the same thing here. As I've mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of motorcycles, and so every time I saw these guys flying around on wet streets, I was just like, "Oh, they're gonna die. They're gonna crash. They're gonna die," because that was always something I avoided unless I had to. Was riding.
And
in the
that guy
rain.
was a real motorcycle driver. I read
Oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
he was
driving through
obviously,
Scotland, he had to be.
he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But what I really liked about this film was, I mean, and in some ways, there were times that I thought we could move this along a little bit. Did we need to have as many little vignettes of her picking up guys as we did? I felt like you could have excised one or two of those. Not the one where she when she actually does start to develop, especially for the guy who has the the facial deformity, I guess is the only way to put it.
It's very nice hands, though.
Yes, but no, it was kind of an interesting point, where she's, she obviously realizes that this guy is different from what we would consider normal. He is not within this normal range or spectrum, and she says kind things to him that he probably hasn't really ever heard before, And so, and the funny thing is he naturally he is like,
Well, that was not makeup. That person had that deformity.
Right.
yeah, and so he was obviously as the character, and probably a lot of his own feelings, he was on guard. He's like, something's rotten in Denmark, man. Something's not cool here. This is going to be a setup. I'm just going to get made fun of again, or something like that.
Or eaten.
Yeah, or eaten, which stinks. But visually, it's fantastic. The scenes where they're walking and it's like the perfect black mirror reflection from, I guess, what is the ground, and then the guys just kind of sink into it and disappear. Fantastic. I mean, I think that, maybe they were processing them for meat, but I think that the skin was the main thing. We do see that scene where the guy is kind of inside. He's not dying, but all of a sudden you see the other guy, and the other guy just goes, and he just kind of slurps up.
But the name of the movie's Under the Skin.
Yeah, but I mean, I think when you see when we'll get
alien
more
under the
into
skin.
it, but when you get to
No,
the
I get
final
that.
scene,
No, I understand.
I think it
that.
has more than one meaning. Yeah.
You guys didn't think that was like meat being processed, like you would like
I
any
wasn't
animal
sure
here?
if it was. I wasn't
I had no
sure if
idea.
it was being processed or if that was just the waste once they had what they wanted.
Okay, it's going
Like,
somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were getting rid of it in some way.
Considering they put her in a skin, you would think
Yeah.
it's a logical conclusion that they want the skin because they put her in a human skin.
Well, yeah, I mean, they
So the
all
motorcycle guy was probably in a human skin as well.
exactly, yeah, and in the end, it looked like there was more than one. There was like three of them at one point, because when she went off.
Off the grid, they were looking for her.
When she went off the reservation, yeah, it wasn't in her van anymore. It was just walking around and hanging out with that nice guy, or generally nice dude or what have you.
Yeah, there was that great shot of the motorcycles entering the roundabout, and then
And they all
go
went
off
in different directions.
That was really striking.
Fantastic, yeah. And some of the shots at night were just fantastic. They were gorgeous, and they were really engaging. I would say that really my only, and sometimes, John, I mean, this is just me, and maybe it is because, I did start watching David Lynch movies probably when I was too young to really get into them. Because I will say this to this day, there are some David Lynch movies I watch and I'm like, I'm not really sure what's happening. I don't claim to understand it. I'll go online and there'll be these myriad of theories and everything. And I'm like, you know what? With his movies, and to some extent with this movie, I just kind of let it wash over me. I just kind of let the feeling hit me. And in this,
That's also how I watch The Straight Story. I agree with you.
of course, yeah, that one, very little plot there. Guy driving his tractor. But the funny thing is I did really like this film. I thought it was unsettling, especially because none of these guys seem to be really terrible until we get to the end. Do you know what I mean? In fact, most of them they're just dudes. They're not like awful people or anything like that, and they just have the bad luck of running into this particular lady. But no, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. But you know what? I do think you probably could have trimmed a good 10 minutes out of this film.
And it was a short film anyway. It wasn't long.
No, it wasn't particularly long, but I think it might have been better at a tight 95 minutes as opposed to 140.
It got a little repetitive.
That was my thing with it. It was like there are a couple of films where I'm like, okay, I get it. Got it. You know what? We've done the thing twice. We understand what's happening. We don't need to do it 4 times. let's get to the point where things do change up a little bit, and there's some alternative.
Yeah, let's before we go, let me hear Drew. Drew, I want to hear your take, and then I want to talk about. I'm going to throw specific scenes out, and talk about those scenes because it's the only. Go ahead, Drew.
Well, I think John is right. There's a lot of stuff that people say about the movie and that wrote about the movie that I don't think is in the movie. The only reason I know it's in the movie is because I read the book.
Oh,
I think
you did?
The book is very good. It's not a great adaptation of the book in the sense of here's what happens in the book. Here's clearly what's happening in the movie. The book is much more explicitly, I'm an alien woman. I'm hunting men to sell them for meat. And the whole book is basically factory farming and eating meat is wrong. So what if somebody hunted humans and treated us like that? And there are certain scenes and ideas in the movie that are definitely from the book. The one scene I had forgotten until I watched it this time, one of the most powerful scenes in the book is when she gets called in by the rest of her team because somebody, I don't remember if she did it or somebody broke out. Some of the humans that were getting ready to be transported broke out, and they're full of drugs and they're all puffed up like the guy in the water, and they've already been castrated just like we would do to cattle. And they're kind of wandering around the grass all drugged up, and you have to go get them. And Adam Pearson, the disfigured young man, him walking across that field naked, I was like, oh my God, that's clearly a reference to that. I did not pick that up before, that he was reduced to, being an animal that you didn't know when you first saw him in the field was being hunted. But then of course that's what happened. And I really think the movie is very powerful. I think it wants to portray what it looks like, what humans look like from a genuinely alien perspective. It never says she's from space. She's an alien. She is hunting men and turning them into beef jerky. Like none of that is there, but she is clearly hunting men and doesn't pick them because they're right or wrong. She picks them because they won't be missed, she thinks, because they don't have anybody. And that's not a value judgment. That's just a practicality judgment. You want to be able to keep coming and hunting and not have a problem. And I think she, and I'm sure this has happened to other characters that have done this in this world, she sees our community. And the alien at the end, they call her Laura in a lot of the stuff. I never really get her name. The woman at the end, when she is trying to figure out how to eat cake and stuff like that, that's not the same woman that she was when she watched that family drown. And that scene, I had forgotten how early in the movie that is. That scene is just devastating. And when the motorcycle man goes back at night to pick up the last scraps of evidence and just leaves that baby, and the baby is trying to stand up on that dark rocky beach. I mean, that's the
scene. I specifically wanted to talk about that scene.
Yeah, it's
there's a lot going on in that scene.
I think it's a really good movie. I've seen now 3 of Jonathan Glazer's movies. At some point, I'll be brave enough to see Zone of Interest. I think all of his movies are actually quite different, which is cool, but you can tell that the same person and same kind of thinking is behind them. And the music, it's not a score I'll put on and drive around, but Michael Levy did the score. I think she also did Zone of Interest, and the synthesizer music and the actual instruments and the motifs and just everything to make it's perfect for the movie. And it's so ugly and jarring and alien, which is the point.
Well, it's unsettling is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the same. Zone of Interest, he does the same thing in that. I mean, the sound is there to keep you unsettled. So back to that beach scene. Okay, so let me kind of run through that. So she comes upon the beach, and there's a family over on the left side with it looks like a husband and a wife and a little baby and a dog. And she's over. She sees another guy swimming by himself. He comes out of the water, and she starts talking to him, asking the questions. Do you have a girlfriend? Do you live alone? You realize she's hunting him. You've kind of caught on to what's going on at this point with her. Then you see the dog goes out beyond the breakers and is starting to drown. And the first thing that happens is the mother goes out to try to save the dog. And she gets out beyond the breakers, and you realize, oh, my God, she's in trouble now, too. Then this guy that she's talking to decides to go and help them, and he goes over there. Meanwhile, the father jumps in the water as well. The baby's left up on the beach, and the father goes in, and this guy goes, realizing that they've probably lost the dog, they've probably lost the wife who's being swept out to sea. the one guy I can save is the father. He drags him to shore. And even though he got him and the guy's exhausted, they're both exhausted. The guy says, no, I got to go get my wife. I got to go get my wife. He goes back out. This man that she was talking to that went in to rescue him just from exhaustion is just laying on the ground, just wiped out. Then you see her walk over, just calmly walk over, walking through the water. She kind of looks down and starts picking at rocks and just picks one up and bashes the guy over the head and drags him away, leaving everybody out in the ocean, leaving the baby screaming. And next thing we see is he's in the truck in her passenger seat. Obviously, he's passed out, and you realize he's going to be processed. And at the same time, so after that, she processes him, and then there's a news report about this family that got lost at the beach. She has no reaction to that. There's another baby crying next to her in a car. And this is where her journey starts happening about what's going on. And, she's been observing bugs and she's been observing other things that she's interested. The alien might come down and go, oh, look at this ant on my finger, or look at the bee that's on the window. And she's starting to have this weird transformation. But then they cut to you're talking about the motorcycle guy goes and takes all that guy's tent stuff to eliminate that evidence. And just like Drew said, just the baby gets completely ignored. Yeah. And that, to me, was the most unsettling scene in the whole movie.
Was terrible.
Is that baby. Because you realize either it's going to get swept away or maybe somebody will fight. You have no idea. We're not told. Never get the answer. But it starts her journey because the next thing you see is she gets a flower from a vendor and there's blood. He's bleeding from selling these roses. And it starts her journey where she starts tasting food and all the things that ultimately is her demise. It's also the things that she's failing in her mission. But they're doing things like she falls down in the middle of the street because she's awkward. She's still trying to figure out.
And everyone's kind to her. They all
everybody's kind.
That must have blown her mind.
Right. And there's that scene where they do this montage of just images and images and images, and it's people helping people and happy people. And it's kind of like she's being flooded with a cacophony of what human beings really are. And imagine if you were ready to kill a cow and you suddenly got an insight into these cows, you might have a different feeling about killing and eating and all the things that we do. And that's what I took away, that once she got her humanity, now she gets attacked and gets raped, tries to get raped. And that's ultimately her demise. She ends up getting burned. He burned her alive.
Yeah, thank God she didn't get raped. Instead, she was burned alive.
But Scarlett Johansson makes an acting choice that when she is driving around, her face is blank. And then when she talks to these men, she smiles and she looks at them. And then if she realizes like, oh, I'm not going to go after this one, as soon as they walk away, she's like
total blank. Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, to see the way she uses her own face as a mask, just as an actress, is very striking. And I think it's kind of incredible that, Scarlett Johansson, who is a big movie star and one of the most beautiful women in the world, really was driving around Glasgow and picking up people who did not recognize her. And part of why you don't recognize her is because Scarlett Johansson isn't going to drive around in a van and talk to you.
And she's got black hair. She's got that Scottish accent.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really very striking. And I think, the behind the scenes of how they made the movie, some of that stuff is as interesting as the movie. But I think it is about, she realizes that she's lonely, which I don't suspect ever occurred to her before. And that's why she tries to use her body and tries to use sex to connect. But that scene where the quiet man, the nice man that took her in, they try to have sex. It's not rape. She wants to. And then she just doesn't have a vagina. And she's so shocked. And she goes and she sits on the end of the bed with a lamp and she looks at herself and she realizes, I can't have this.
Well, same thing with the chocolate cake. She tries
but
chocolate.
That was like, oh, that's disappointing. I ate something, I threw up. But you could never eat cake, and that has nothing to do with loneliness. But you're very lonely, and you want to use sex to connect because that's what you're using to lure these men in. These men are literally watching you walk backwards and take your clothes off, and that takes them right to their doom. And I found that very plausible. These guys, this beautiful woman wants me to go into this shitty house. Okay, I'll go.
Yeah, but it was more like a siren thing, wasn't it? I mean, that
I mean, a little bit of
they
that.
kept walking as they were sinking, and they kept walking.
Well, by that
forward.
time they're already caught. They're in the there's whatever's.
No, but that's
what-
not the look on their face. The look on their face is they're willingly going.
Well, it's
down.
being
And then
hypnotized
you
or
see the
whatever.
guy-
I
That's
mean,
what I thought. That's what I
Mesmerized or
thought.
something.
Yeah, there is something hypnotic about it. They don't explain. Maybe it's a drug in the goo, or who knows.
Yeah, but they don't
Because in the
explain
the
Well, then
book,
they-
when you
yeah.
when the
I'll do
book when
research.
she
Wait a second, let's hear
captures
what the
you,
book says.
you sit on her chair and you sit on the passenger seat, and she's talking to you, and she gets you to relax, and then she pushes a button, and all these needles come out of the seat into your body, and that like makes you paralyzed. You don't get knocked out.
Well, that's in
but
the
you're
book?
paralyzed. That's how it works in the book.
Oh,
And that's how she like stuns you and then takes you. I don't remember all. I read it a long time ago. I probably read it. When the
This
movie
is more
came out.
visually interesting.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh,
But
no,
it
this
was
choice,
like
yeah,
the
that's it.
idea of stunning you and then taking you to be processed. But it was like I have to get you in the chair. And one of the problems she has in the book with a character that's basically is kind of a version of the character at the end that tries to assault her and ends up killing her is a guy she can't get him to sit in the chair right, and he figures out something is wrong. And so it's much more about the mechanics of that, whereas the movie is I will lure you into the truck, and it's no bigger deal to lure you into your doom, and it doesn't mean anything to me as this woman alien until it does.
Well, as the characters, we're doing the same thing. That we're being taken in by her. We're hoping to see her naked. Basically, is what as the viewer we're doing the same thing the characters are doing. We're just following her. Going,
You see her
okay,
naked
let's
in
go.
the first scene of the movie. Like,
I know,
it's not,
I know, but you're
you
seeing
see
her.
two
Once
naked
is
women
not
in the first
enough.
scene of the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. So yeah, to you know,
Can I ask Drew a question?
of course.
Was the baby scene in the book too?
I honestly don't remember if there was a direct one-to-one, but the book has that kind of like heart-wrenching scenes in it. Some of it is approximating how we, industrially kill cattle versus how they did that to humans. But it is, there's that contrast between I'm just doing my job and I think that, then something horrible is happening. And that's clearly what is taken through into Zone of Interest. Because,
Well, if that's his
the
choice-
aliens, the aliens didn't care about the baby.
If
Like, they
that's-
didn't try and kill the baby. They just literally didn't
And
care.
to me, that's a brilliant choice that Glazer made because that gets right in your that's the core.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that's a killer. That's a killer thing. And then the scene too, where they call him the bad rider, the bad guy. I don't know. He has that. It's not even a conversation. They're just looking at each other, and he's basically dressing her down for some of the failures that were going on. So yeah, to go and research this after the fact just made the movie more interesting for me because I didn't see it when it came out in 2013. I thought it was a straight up horror film. I didn't care about it. But once after seeing Zone of Interest, and I realized I think he directed Sexy Beast as well. That's
They did Sexy Beast, Birth.
yeah.
this,
I haven't seen
and Zone
Birth.
of
Birth
Interest.
sounds really weird too. That's a Nicole
Birth is
Kidman.
great. I think John would really like that one too.
So I liked going in and getting more information on it because it just helped. It helped me just enjoy the film even more.
yeah. I like when the films do that, so you can enjoy it during the film.
That's not every film is going to have to answer the question right there.
You don't have to
know?
answer some questions about, but you got to answer.
I mean, John, it's not that wasn't that tricky a thing that was going on. You kind of got I kind of immediately
you got from that film that they were being processed for meat.
yes.
Wow.
Yes,
I mean, they were
they
being trapped and processed for something.
they showed the
That's
shot of
that's the
meat
image
going
of it.
out on a
I
trawler.
know, but when he was down in the thing, it looked like almost like a portal or something when his skin was left.
well, they take skin off animals when they're doing stuff. So
I know.
that's
well,
how
I didn't make that connection. So,
But I mean, and I also got the sense that she was being her empathy for humans was definitely what caused her to once she leaves that truck, she left that truck on the road. You knew that it was over for her. She left her. That was her thing. That truck was her thing. I was trying to figure out how they learn how to drive a truck.
That's what I was wondering.
And know the
too.
traffic rules. How does that?
How did she know which side of the street?
Oh, I don't
to
think
drive?
these are
Another
the
part
first
of the
ones to go.
universe.
No, probably not. They probably have a little driving class,
Little
or
training
something.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little-
Also, keep in mind that almost everything you see in the movie is in camera, which is pretty incredible, including the guys walking into the goo and sinking down. Like all of that was done practically. There are some things that were enhanced with CG, but that was all done. practically.
I didn't
And
watch
that's-
anything about the making of that. That must have been incredible.
Yeah, they built a raised platform, and then they made this goo, and then the actor would walk across this panel after she walked across it, and then it would sink down into the goo as he kept walking across it. So you are watching someone sink into something. Of course, the shot from him looking up, that's a different thing. I guess they put him in water or something, but almost everything is in camera, which I think they decided to really try and do because they used all these cameras in the van and they didn't want it to look like a different movie.
Well, it's whatever they did was fantastic.
Yeah, but but talking about what it's about and this and that and all, but it's sort of like, I bought into it the first time, but then sometimes I hate it when filmmakers are like, because the book gives a great deal, as you point out, the book gives a great deal of details about what's going on, and it's like,
it has an agenda too.
Yeah, and it has an agenda, and like, what's this film agenda? I mean, it's sort of like, are we supposed to feel sorry for her? It's sort of like, if Ted Bundy let a girl go, are we going to suddenly say, oh yeah?
I think this is
it's not about her though.
It's about humanity.
How she sees us.
Yeah, it's about humanity. It's not about her.
Let's say if it's about Ted Bundy, suddenly sees this woman he was going to kill and decides to see something human in her, and it sparks something in him. Or do I feel better about Ted Bundy? No, not at all.
That's not. I don't think that's a good analog. I don't think that's this
kind
of story.
That's when, yeah.
No, she's not supposed to be a notorious serial killer or something. Like, she literally doesn't have any emotion about anything she's doing.
Sociopaths
obviously just thinks all of us are bugs.
She's not doing anything out of malice. It's like, right. I was.
Well, you're judging Bundy to say he was acting out of malice.
I'm comfortable making a judgment.
I would say that's
I'm willing to make that. I'm willing to take that hot take, and say he was.
John, what a great freeze frame. John's freeze frame is. John, your internet is off or something, but there he goes.
There he goes.
Screws up all my editing. Oh my god!
Because he's just had enough of it.
Exactly.
He really doesn't want to talk about this film. I'm amazed.
Sorry,
I saw him pushing a button.
Hang on one second, guys. Hang on. That's not going to matter. I'll have to edit this later. Go ahead, Chris. Keep talking. Let me just get to the file.
Yeah, sure. No, it's funny. It's like I've said before. I love myself a good alien invasion story, in movies and stuff like that. But I've always said, like if we ever actually get visited by aliens, we better hope they're vegetarians and they're super. What do you call it? Because the fact of the matter is. If they have the technology to travel across the universe or lights, or however they do it, they would wipe out, all of our military and everything in the blink of an eye. So we better hope that they're benevolent if they ever do show up. Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like they probably would look at us the way we might look at a gorilla or a chimpanzee. Yeah, it's pretty smart. Yeah, look at them. They've used some tools. Like we get all excited when the chimpanzee uses the thing, the what do you call it, to go into the ant hill and pulls out the ants and then gets himself a little ant treat, right? People are like, they're using tools. I mean, that's what they might look at that. Oh, well, look at that. They walked on their closest satellite. Good for them, I
mean, there is a movie that's kind of like that. That's one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. And the backstory is when the aliens arrived, they defeated the entire planet in 9 minutes. And it's called Battlefield Earth.
That's right.
And that's very special film.
Well, I think honestly, what I think is, again, it's my simplistic take that you wouldn't look at an anthill and eventually have empathy for the anthill because something about human beings, and this is what I think Glazer might have been trying to say, is we're just different than animals because she fell and all these people came around for no reason, just to help her because she fell. They weren't looking for anything. They were just being good human beings. And you don't see that in the animal world. You don't see that. And that's what separates, obviously, us from them. Also, we can think about what we're doing and have a conscience and all that. And I think that's the point. I don't see this as they just see us. Yes, when they land here, they just see us as animals. And probably that guy driving around, because he ends up hunting that poor guy with the deformities and kills him anyway.
Yeah, he catches them, yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to be, he'll be processed anyway, even though she let him go. And it's what starts her downfall with them as well.
Well, it's why, I really liked, one of you mentioned it earlier on, that the idea that woman in the very beginning, maybe she's just somebody who's another alien. Maybe she isn't just a woman, because we do see her getting a completely different kind of treatment. She's in the completely white room, and she's undressing her, taking her clothing and everything like that, and she's just left there. We don't see her get processed. We don't see her go through the goo.
They might only eat men.
Maybe.
Well,
That's
yeah,
the
but,
delicacy.
but that's why I'm going for that she's another alien because of what you're saying, that she's in a
Yeah, I
separate
mean,
place. She does literally put the same clothes on,
yeah,
and maybe it's a uniform they have. I don't know. But that's, again,
but
nothing,
maybe that's.
I
Yeah,
don't mind unanswered
tattoo-
questions as long as it
yeah.
isn't completely confused. Because the movie definitely has it has an arc for sure. You know, you realize that she tried to become human at the end, and then what happens? Humanity fucks her, literally kills her, and you know, ultimately we're seeing both sides of that coin, which is good and bad. And you knew as soon as I saw that guy in the woods that it was trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, what you were saying about, you know, just how very differently, you know, aliens might look at us, especially considering the level of sophistication that they must have reached if they come here. Have you guys ever read the novel The Sparrow? It's by Mary Doria Russell. It's basically about a Jesuit priest meeting an alien civilization. And it's a great book. People have been trying to make that book and its sequels into movies or series forever. But the so much of it, and the way that I won't say what the story is because it's just a great book, but a lot of what unfolds is kind of like, oh, I really didn't understand what was happening here. And I couldn't have understood what was happening here, even though I'm a man of God and I am a kind person and all this other stuff. I literally have no idea what I thought was happening is not what was happening. And that part of that is because they are, and obviously with interstellar travel, more sophisticated, but also they're just different.
Yeah.
And I think she is just different at the beginning of this movie, but becomes more human. And that's to me, that's the thrust of the story is what about this alien perspective? What do we look like to them? And that's why the story, takes the positions it takes and goes the way that it goes to me.
Welcome back, John. You did miss all our penis talk, though.
I lost the internet for a
Hope you don't
second.
mind. I hope you don't mind.
No, I'm sorry I missed that.
We wanted to know if you thought that those men all had erections.
One guy
because
did, only
they're
one.
fine. That was so very
Well,
surprising. that
semi
didn't get
on
us an
another
NC-17.
What's that?
And the
Any
other guy
thoughts, John?
seems semi.
No.
Yeah, it was a son. They had a fluffer probably, or he probably took care of that himself.
Took
To
it
me,
in
that
hand.
was very disturbing seeing him go down in that goo with that boner. I mean, I have to admit that was pretty.
What
creepy.
better way to go?
I guess so. You come and go at the same time.
Oh my God.
That's a classic.
I like it when they're down there and they're looking, and she's like on glass above them, and it's like
No, it's a beautiful
still-
film.
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff is
Oh
stunning.
yeah.
Oh, some of those shots, like that shot of the beach, and there's like mist that's like circling around, being pushed in by the wind, and you got to sit there think, I think they just picked that up. I think that just happened. I don't think they said, "Hey,
It may be.
Oh,
let's
yeah.
wait here for something."
Well,
you
like
know?
that dissolve of the trees that dissolves to her
Sure.
sleeping in
Yeah.
that hut that she found. I mean, the movie is gorgeous, really gorgeous.
Yeah.
And he's stressing. I think he's stressing again how beautiful the Earth is, and they're just starting to realize that. And people are wonderful, except for the guy at the end. I mean, like I said, it's two sides of the same coin, of a coin. So, anyway, all right. Well, so what's the rating on this? Is it Yippee-Ki-Yay or Yippee-Ki-Nay? Sean, I'm interested. Is it yay for the first time, nay for the second, or do you
It's still yay for both, but I would say I went down from 3.5 stars to 2.5 stars.
Wow, that's a big drop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
Okay,
Yippee-Ki-Yay.
Chris.
Sorry,
Go
guys.
ahead.
I'm going Yippee-Ki-Yay. I really liked it. It's like I said, it probably could have been trimmed a little bit. I felt like we ran through the same thing a couple of times, and I don't think we needed to see like her seduce 4 guys. I think 2 would have been fine before we moved on to the progression. But all in all, it's still the visuals were great, and they kind of keep you interested. And plus, it really isn't until maybe it's not quite. It's a little bit before the third act that things start to change for her. But that's when obviously it kind of picks up a little bit, But still great, really, and beautiful, of course.
Drew?
I'd say Yippee-Ki-Yay for sure. I haven't watched the movie in a long time. I don't remember the last time I sat down and watched it, and I have it on Blu-ray. So to sit down and revisit it, and the sound and the beauty of it and everything was really fun. But it is a distressing movie,
Yeah.
And Jonathan Glazer makes distressing movies. I mean, Birth is about Nicole Kidman is a widow in Manhattan, and she goes running in the park, and she meets a 10-year-old boy who says, "I'm the reincarnation of your husband." And she starts to wonder if maybe he is. And if that makes you picture potentially creepy, inappropriate things, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And that's a very unsettling movie. Also excellent, but you know, he does different kinds of unsettling, I guess.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. He's the master.
John?
Yeah, Yippee-Ki-Yay. I didn't like
Well,
it.
that's quick. Okay. I'm going to
It would have been a great 45-minute Black Mirror episode.
We can't say that about every film now.
Well, I can say it about this one.
Okay.
Go ahead, John. You say that.
Complete Yippee-Ki-Yay for me. I think it's still in my head. I'm thinking about it all the time. I would love to get a copy of the Blu-ray, Drew, if you have that available at some point.
Sure, it's very good.
Yeah. I loved it. And after seeing Zone of Interest that's the main reason I watched it, because I hadn't seen it when it came out in 2013. And I had seen Sexy Beast and loved Sexy Beast. But once I saw Zone of Interest, I really wanted to give this one another shot. And I'm glad I did. I loved it. So there you go. All right. So let's do a flash round. I don't even know why I say it, of what you watch. And then we'll go into the spins that we're going to do. So, John, go ahead. We make you happy. What'd you watch, John?
I watched last night, actually, on TCM. They have a few they're doing a whole thing on the 100 years of MGM. And I've always heard about the Big Parade from 1925, but I've never actually seen it. It stars John Gilbert. It was directed by King Vidor. And it is an amazing film. I mean, first of all, the restoration they're doing, these silent films don't look like silent films that you normally see on TV. The print is beautiful. But the first hour of it, it's about World War I, about three guys who, you see their beginning of their story, then they go to boot camp and they kind of bond. But it's the scenes in the trenches when they're going against the front lines of Germany that are just amazing. How many people they had, all the vehicles that they had, what they showed, because this was pre-censor, so they could show stuff that normally you wouldn't see. So it was really stark what they did. But they also did this scene where all the American soldiers are walking towards the front line, and the way Vidor shot it, he had some guy playing a bass drum to keep the rhythm, that every soldier was following this rhythm. And his thinking was he wanted to show that they were walking towards death. And knowing that, and I knew that before I watched it, then seeing it, when I look at movies like that, like The General, like we talked about, you think about that time period and the technology that they had to do the stuff that they did. And to me, it's fascinating. I would love to see the making of this film to see how they did some of the stuff they did, where today you take that stuff for granted. But if you've never seen it, if you're into silent films, check this thing out. And this was also one of MGM's biggest hits at the start of their creation. So check it out if you get a chance. I really love it.
How long is that?
It's about 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Wow.
So for a silent film, it's long, but I'm telling
epic,
you.
yeah.
I
mean, to me, honestly, it sounds like it might be better as a 45-minute Black Mirror episode, but I'll
Could
check
be.
it out.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you only watch the second half, that's what got me.
Is it
that
clear?
Second half of the
Is
movie.
it easy to understand? Because I don't want to think about. I need the movie to explain everything.
Oh, no,
to
it's
me.
very easy to understand.
Okay.
Very easy.
Okay.
You don't have to do any research.
Like the
after.
drum thing you were talking about. I know that they're
to
walking
know the
towards
plot.
death. I know.
You don't have to know.
So do we see the banging of the drum, or how? We didn't know that.
No, he did this on the set.
So how did you? So when you watched it the first time without knowing that, did you know they were walking towards death?
No, I knew that ahead of time.
Why?
Because I read
something.
I read a lot about this before. Not before I watched it, just in general.
Right.
Because it's one of the
get more
classic
information
silent
about
films.
the film that helps you understand the film better.
I didn't need to do research to get plot. Okay, Ralph. So you can
I'm
say
just
whatever you
suggesting
want.
that the drum
you know
thing-
what they were the Germans were killing the Americans for meat.
Nice. Wow.
They did call those meat
All right,
grinders.
Sean, what'd you watch?
Well, there are two things I'd like to say. First, I watched Quiet. Excuse me?
He's
Are you talking about me? Okay, good. Okay, good. As long as he's talking about you. I watched, I think we mentioned it. It might have been off camera, Quiet on the Set, about sex abuse.
Brutal.
and
I haven't watched that yet.
general
I heard that's
abuse.
disturbing.
It's very
good.
And, because it's two kinds of, the most disturbing thing is, of course, the pedophilia, but also the guy who the showrunner, Schneider, that's just normal Hollywood.
It
you know, I
was.
say
It probably still
assholism.
is a little bit, but
You know, and that's a
God.
guy who gets
Those
power.
poor
He's a-
women, the poor
Yeah.
women who have to write for that asshole, who
Yeah.
had to write for him.
Retell us that joke, but pretend someone's sodomizing you.
Oh my God! And she did it, and she did it because she didn't want to lose her job.
Right.
And he
It's disgusting.
and he
So
made them be
painful.
partners so that they could have two writers for the price of one and would never ask a guy.
That's great. I mean, you know, the pedophilia, yes, is devastating, but that stuff is bad too.
This is just
Really bad.
this is just so many people, not just in the did I say advertising? I mean, it just reminded me of so many stories of the business and everything, and it was just disgusting. And and I also watched, and I'm kind of curious you guys' take on it because I'm sure some of you Dream Scenario.
I haven't seen it. I have it. I haven't
though.
seen it.
Yeah,
Looks
it's an A24 film completely. They always
Like
have
Under the Skin.
That's
Yeah.
Nicolas
Was this
Cage.
with Nick Cage?
Yeah.
Everybody dreams about him.
Yeah, and then it goes bad because he gets angry. Then at first he's a benign figure or an observer in their dreams, and then when he gets mad at his former partner for stealing his research, he's angry. Then suddenly he's like killing and raping people in the dreams, and everyone is terrified of him. So it's an odd film, and I don't think it really builds to a satisfying conclusion, like a lot of A24 films. A24 films all tend to be very interesting, but I don't know if they all pay off.
They're getting a good rep, like unlike Blumhouse, which is kind of tapered off a
Blumhouse,
little bit.
to me, is falling apart.
Yeah, but A24, you see A24 on the front of it, you assume it's going to be a pretty good movie.
You assume it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know
maybe,
if they're always good, but
Okay.
they're worth watching.
Yeah, well, that's. Okay, great. Drew.
Well, it's been a couple weeks. Obviously, I watched a lot of stuff.
Oh my God.
Actually, I watched and rewatched a bunch of stuff, and we had a very serious conversation about Under the Skin. So I'm going to talk about something that is not serious that I thoroughly enjoyed. Kelly and I went to the movies. It was my birthday this past weekend.
Well, happy birthday. I didn't even know
Thank
that.
you.
Wow. Oh.
Thank you. So Saturday morning, we went and saw the small art film Godzilla X Kong, The New Kingdom. I am more of a fan of these movies than Kelly, but she said, I haven't seen, all of the movies. I said, well, we should watch Godzilla versus Kong because otherwise you might not be able to follow the story. So we watched that, and that was really fun. And then I said, well, now you've seen all of them except Godzilla King of the Monsters. Do you want to watch that one? And she said, okay. So we watched that
With
one before we went to
enthusiasm.
the movies. And at the end of Godzilla X Kong, I said, what did you think? And she said, that was really dumb and really fun. And that is exactly what I would say about it. That movie is just fun. And it's the same director as Godzilla versus Kong. And I like that there's a world where you can have a really big and ridiculous take on these titans that's got its own version of who they are and why they are and everything in the same world, our world, that we can also have Godzilla -1, which is just a spectacular movie, never mind a Godzilla movie. So if you want a big fun summer movie, I think you could do well with Godzilla X Kong. I will say both this and Godzilla versus Kong, they're really Kong movies. And some of that is what we were talking about relating to ants. I mean, he's a mammal and a simian, and his face is very expressive, and it's a tribute to mocap acting and all that kind of stuff. And so I really enjoyed them, and I had a lot of fun.
I just picked this one up today. This is the 1976 King Kong
Oh,
Jeff Bridges.
with Jessica Lange. Yeah.
And also I got to see the
Shout
Fury.
Factory. Shout Factory.
Dwan.
Yeah. Dwan.
Also, I got to see the Furiosa trailer for the first time on the big screen, so that made me very happy as well.
Oh, nice.
Did you did Kelly see Godzilla -1?
No, she didn't. I saw that with a friend of mine. I wanted to go back and see it when it was out, minus color. I didn't get a chance to, and now we're waiting for them to make some announcement of.
I just read something
physical or
about that.
streaming
I did
release.
read something about that it's coming out shortly. The announcement is coming out shortly.
Well, it's coming out in Japan soon. Apparently Toho releases these movies in Japan and deliberately doesn't release them with English subtitles. Apparently, if you bought the Japanese version of Shin Godzilla, it wouldn't have it, that sort of thing. But also my understanding is, and this is kind of what sucks, Godzilla -1 made more money than any Godzilla movie in this country, never mind winning Oscars and reviews and all that stuff. And it was still making money when they pulled it. And they had to pull it because the deal that Toho and Legendary have is that you can't have two Godzilla movies in the same year certain distance apart or something. So they might have to have Godzilla X Kong run for a certain amount of time before they can even say, okay, now the Blu-ray will come out, streaming will be this date, all that kind of stuff. So I think it kind of got caught up in that business relationship. But this Godzilla X Kong made like $80 million, and it only cost $135 million, which is kind of incredible. So they'll be making more of those too.
Yeah, it's actually that's surprising. It sounds like a real. It sounds insane to say this, especially like when we used to talk about Waterworld and people lost their mind. But that sounds like a bargain, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Terminator 2: Judgment Day was the most expensive movie ever made. It was like $91 million. Can you believe it? Now that's kind of a upper bargain movie.
I was about to say that's
an independent
PR campaign.
Yeah, that's a
right. Yeah, that's marketing, John. That's right.
Yeah. Drew, is that it? Is that
Chris?
I mean, there's lots more I could say. But
okay, never mind. Chris.
I won't.
Yeah. So I also watched Quiet on the Set and was thoroughly disturbed.
Yes.
It didn't quite traumatize me because I never watched any of it. I was a little older. So like those shows, like I was in my 20s in the 90s, so I was not in the Nickelodeon zone. But I did watch the first episode of Gentlemen in Moscow on Paramount Plus.
Is that the Ewan McGregor one?
Yeah, with Ewan McGregor. I read, it's funny, I read most of the book and it really enjoyed it, but yet for whatever reason never finished it. So I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it. I think I'm going to pull the old wait till it's all out and then, sign up for a month.
It's a way to do it.
Watch it all because I really did enjoy it. I am fascinated with the time period where Russia becomes the Soviet Union. I'm just fascinated by all of that stuff. I'm a huge fan of the book the movie Reds.
Sure.
And I'm just fascinated by all of that kind of stuff. I think it's really interesting. And this time it takes a very interesting take. If you don't know the story, basically it's about a former Russian aristocrat, a count, who for whatever reason, he apparently wrote a poem that some people thought was revolutionary. So they've decided instead of killing him, they're going to let him live in a hotel for the rest of his life.
And he can't leave.
Like the fanciest hotel in Moscow at the time. And so, but it's basically about him living in this hotel for, at least as far as I got through in the book, for decades.
A prison is just a prison, even a nice one.
I'd rather stay in the Metropole than in like Sobibor.
But he can't leave. He can't leave the building, right?
You can't leave the building, but at least they have, roast duck and a good Chateaubriand, Nice.
And Russian dressing.
Things get you through.
Russian dressing. Can I just add one thing really quick about something I watched? I did take the grandkids to see Kung Fu Panda 4. And I did see Kung Fu Panda 1, but did not see 2 and 3.
Me too.
Yeah, but I still felt I could enjoy Kung Fu Panda 4, and that I got it.
Well, you can watch the 30-minute recaps. I mean, you can always watch that. You don't.
Yeah, I should have done that before then.
And Merle Haggard, what did you watch?
Thank you. I watched two, one very disturbing documentary and one pretty decent film. I watched the Alex Jones documentary on HBO Max about his court against the parents in Connecticut, Sandy Hook. The thing that killed me the most is that 25% of the American population, 75 million people, think Sandy Hook didn't happen. These
it was a setup, just like 9/11.
These parents are walking in elevators with pictures of their kids on them, and people are going, that never happened. I don't know why you're showing me that. Not to mention the whole Alex Jones thing. It's just Why
are you surprised, Ralph? What percent of the population think 9/11 was an inside job? Why does that surprise you?
It doesn't, because I see other things going on that make me realize a lot of the population isn't that bright.
And they look at this phony footage about this bridge
and will believe anything somebody tells them if they want to poke the eye of people, specifically left-wing people or lefties or Democrats. They just love to do that. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, never the other way.
Never.
No.
Never.
The lefties.
And the second film I watched is called Blackberry, about the.
I saw that, actually.
And I quite enjoyed that film. It's a Canadian film. I didn't realize that RIM, Rhythm in Motion, was a Canadian company, the guys who invented the BlackBerry. And again, it's another one of these, making of like Tetris and some of the, I think Jerry Seinfeld has Pop-Tarts coming out.
That looks funny.
Yeah. This was a fun film and directed by, so it stars Jay Baruchel. He was Baruchel. Glenn Howerton, the guy from Always Sunny, he was fantastic. Very serious role, but funny. And Matt Johnson plays one of the guys who's also wrote and directed it. And it's based on a book called I don't remember the name of the book, but about how BlackBerry
Oppenheimer.
Once the iPhone 2007, the iPhone
Canadian Prometheus
just killed it. So it's a good film. It's a fun film.
Everybody had a BlackBerry.
I love those.
I learned a fact about that because you can watch the movie or you can watch a TV show version of the movie. And the TV show is, I guess, 2 episodes and it's an extra 16 minutes. Because it's a Canadian show, they legally had to have a certain amount of Canada in it. So it's an extra 16 minutes of references to Canada and Canadian people.
Well, it's all over. I mean, it's all over.
But I mean, like, there's no reason to watch that unless you watched BlackBerry the movie and we're like, I wish there was more Canada.
Well, the funny thing is I went on YouTube and there's a guy who used to work for RIM at the time this movie was shot. So he did a trailer review and then he did a movie review. The director saw that, loved it, and he wasn't completely positive. He was negative because the movie takes a lot of stuff that didn't happen and tries to make it more a lot of liberties. The director loved it so much he put the guy on the director's track for the Blu-ray. And the guy does a commentary for the Blu-ray. And he's a pretty.
They still do commentaries.
Yeah, he has his own YouTube channel. He explains things and stuff. But I just thought it was great, and the director let him do that. So I went and ordered the Blu-ray because I want to hear that because I thought he did a really nice job.
That's fun.
All right, so let's talk about what we're doing. Is we're not pandering. We are expanding. We're trying to expand our audience
and expand.
We're engaging.
We're trying to get more engagement.
I'm hoping I'm expanding less with this Ozempic.
John, are you on Ozempic?
John, do you get a quarter every time you say pandering?
Yes.
Okay, because that's the only reason I could think that.
That's
going back to that.
I'm trying to monetize the channel, Drew. I mean,
somebody should. I support that.
All right, so what we've got. Let me go to the wheel. Hang on a second. All right, so here are the 5 that we ultimately picked from the community hopper.
Yeah, we had about 30 films that were picked.
So we had
great suggestions.
Yeah, they were great.
So here they are. They are Dragon Slayer, Arrival, Train to Busan, The Incredibles, and The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Again, these were all requested by our Indian fans. So
and then we picked them from that list.
We culled them down to do this 5. This is the first 5.
Yeah.
We may do this more depending on the
if they watch.
Depending on the kind of engagement we
get.
But frankly, these are great films. These are great films.
they are.
So they're going to be fun to do. So I'm going to spin
it. I know we've been talking about doing Eternal Sunshine. People have been mentioning
I've never seen it
since the beginning.
I saw that
I've never seen that in Train to Busan. So
I was curious who hasn't seen all of these. And John, you said you haven't seen 2 of them.
Yeah,
I've never seen The Incredibles actually.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
and Chris, you've never seen Train to Busan?
Nope, never seen Train to Busan. The only one I haven't seen.
Incredibles is a cartoon, right?
It's an animated film.
Animated film.
And which one?
Awesome. Who stars in Dragon Slayer?
Peter McNichol.
Okay, so I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll spin this, and that'll be the film we do next week.
That's old school fantasy.
Don't mix it up with Beastmaster.
Oh, Mark Singer.
From V.
Tanya Roberts.
From V. Hey, can bring it all the way back.
That's right.
All the way back. It's a cartoon. All right, so John, you get the first one. Incredibles.
That was my pick.
You love this.
Well, not your pick. Your pick out of the group.
This is the one I picked from the group, but I love this movie, so I'm so thrilled that we're going to do it. And I know you call it a cartoon, so that tells me everything about you.
I can't wait to watch this cartoon.
This is back when Pixar could do no
I'm going to read a lot about it, so I know what the movie's about.
You won't have to, Ralph. That's the beauty about this movie. You understand the plot from start to finish.
It's so good. Just the music is fantastic.
Got a great soundtrack.
It's
great
fun.
Soundtrack. It's got a definitely James Coburn, Flint vibe to it.
Yeah. Oh no, it's all about that spy era and stuff, and it's on Disney Plus, so it's easy to find.
Have you guys all seen it already?
I have. Yeah.
I have, but not for years.
Okay.
Great.
It'll be fun.
I'm
So,
sure I
long
will
time.
enjoy a second viewing, and I
Yeah.
might get the kids.
I
to
don't know,
watch it.
Sean. Your second
Oh, yeah.
viewings don't go well.
No, this
No.
this film ages really well. It really
Okay.
does.
Well,
I
we'll
wish
see.
the same could be said of me.
So, John, put out on the community. Talk to our Indian friends and let them know we're doing this next week and see if
I will.
we can.
Actually,
See
you
how
know
that
what?
goes.
I've been mentioning it on the 10ish minute show every time. So I'll make
Thank
sure
you.
the next one I do.
so what's the next one we're watching? 12 Fail?
12th fail.
But that's
That's
in
for
2
next
weeks.
week?
No, this is next week.
Incredibles.
Next week
and
is
then
Incredibles.
12 Fail.
The
Okay.
next one will be 12th
12
fail.
fail.
Gotcha.
That.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's an Indian Cinemaniac show.
right.
Gotcha.
These are going to be under the Yippee-Ki-Yay umbrella
That's right.
to get some engagement.
That's
We
right.
hope because
And-
we
and
need what?
I
What do we
say
need? We need more
Pandering.
what? We need more.
Pandering.
More subscriptions, more people getting notified, and more like smashes. And if you like Ralph's glasses, we're going to commit to all of us wearing sunglasses on the next show.
These aren't sunglasses. They're just.
What are they?
They're tinted. That's all.
Oh, they're tinted. They're not
Oh,
sunglasses.
thank God they're not
Tinted.
sunglasses.
What the hell does that mean?
They're just
they're
tinted
not-
at the top, so they're like bifocals.
Right. That way they don't know who I'm looking at. Because I'm directing over here. I got switches I have to do.
I
want
like
my
that.
eyes.
They're not sunglasses. They're tinted.
These are not sunglasses. They're just tinted.
They
know,
look awfully dark for
they're
tinted
cool. They're
glasses.
cool looking
I think-
glasses.
I
Could
think I know
someone
what,
send
I think
me
I
a
know what
gun
they're
and one
for.
bullet?
What are they for?
So on Monday, I am so excited. If the weather's good, I'm actually going to take off work. There will be a solar eclipse in the
Oh, yeah.
afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Monday.
it will be even apparently more of an occlusion than in 2017, which was very exciting to see that. So Ralph, don't think that your glasses are.
No,
enough.
I bought.
Don't look at it.
I actually bought special
Good.
eclipse glasses. So
Everybody
I'm set
should.
for
You
that.
should wear those.
Although I will say that picture of Donald Trump holding the glasses and looking up and pointing at it is still one of my favorite political
Classic.
funny. That's just
It's
ridiculous.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be in Erie, Pennsylvania for the eclipse.
You
So
are.
you'll be closer to the path.
Well, it's the largest city in the totality. Yeah,
That's awesome.
We got tickets for the zoo, so we're going to go watch the animals freak out.
Yeah,
I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
2017. I was at Geographic at the time, and I have pictures from everybody in the common area there looking
Yeah.
up. It was an amazing thing to see. So
Yeah,
I'm
we
excited.
all went outside in Silver
Mm-hmm.
Spring, and I had gotten some good glasses from the Maryland Science Center. And so
I hear that Warby Parker is giving away glasses for free.
really.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
Eclipse
there's one
glasses.
of those in Towson.
Yeah,
I may
the
have to go
the
there and
paper
get
ones, but still, they're eclipse
That's
glasses.
all you
Kids will
need.
be at school. I'm sure the school will have them for the kids.
Yeah. So
Or grandkids.
Just make sure they're tinted.
Yeah, not. I don't want
These are
sunglasses.
not sunglasses. These
They're
are
not
just-
sunglasses. They're tinted.
They're tinted.
See, look at see that you can see my bottom. See that? So, all right. Enough
I've been
of
It's
that.
wanting
actually
to
more
see your
unsettling
bottom.
when you do that.
I know. I
Yeah,
know.
that was pretty
Enough
unsettling.
under the tint, not under the skin.
Yeah.
Under the tint.
No, please don't do that. That's weird. I don't like it.
I'm gonna get some research done on those.
All right. All right, guys. Have a good week. We'll see you next
You
week
too.
for the cartoon called The Incredibles.
The animated
right.
Pixar film called The Incredibles.
Okay, that one. Bye.
Bye bye.
Asshole.